Welcome to Continue Mission Radio with Captain James McCormick. By veterans, for veterans. Guest hosts tonight are author Greg MEAKIN and Miss Val, our military radio gal. Continue Mission starts now.
You got me headed to the left, headed to the right, headed back and forth, but baby, it's alright. You got me going to the east, going to the west, going up and down, cause baby, you know best. All day, all night, running around, I'm never gonna stop because you never settle down. Space, flying at the sun. I'm never coming back because baby you're
Welcome to another rapid deployment of Continue Mission on the Veteran Channel. Today is Wednesday, March 25th, 2026, and this show is coming to you from the great state of Arizona. I'm Val Olson, and I am here once again at my kitchen table with the one, the only, the Iceman, Greg MEAKIN. For almost a decade, Continue Mission has been produced by veterans for veterans. So let's light the fuse. Buckle up, everyone. Greg MEAKIN, what is on your heart today?
Miss Val Olson, Miss Val, our military radio gal. What's on my heart this morning? Two things, other than I'm just so excited to have our next guest come up. That's on my heart. But on my heart is second chances. Okay, second chances. And it occurred to me that all great men and women get their butts kicked in life. Every single one. What's amazing to me, and I'm talking from personal experience here, like in the last month or so, God grants us second chances, even if we don't deserve them. Gives you a second chance to get back in the game, for redemption, for a reckoning, or just to be happy in life. Second chances. So anyone out there who doesn't think they're going to get a second chance, I beg to differ. Just watch. And secondly, got two things. Val, I'm off to the races today. You're off to the races. Two things. Boy, second chances and redemption. Same thing. Redemption. It's that no matter how low, how tough, how brutal things have been, I really do believe in redemption. I believe that there's a moment that we are able to come back, and that only by the grace of God does that happen. I feel personally, thankful of God for the second chances thing, because as you well know, boy, here we go, live radio again, Val. You got me going. 6 years ago, I thought I was done. 5 years ago, I retired. The state of Washington put me out to pasture, finally, on disability, because I couldn't walk. As you know, I threw in the towel. I was done 5 years ago. And for some reason, I got a second chance sitting here on this show today with our guest coming up. And as a side note, boy, you love the little monologues already, right out the gate, right, Val? But as a side note, this show itself is a second chance for me, because this is a part deux show. This is a follow-up show with one of the greatest guys in the world, Dominick Yezzo, who I call Judge Yezzo. We did a show last week with him, about 10 days. And it was the first time in my life the broadcasting with you, Val, that I was kind of out of the picture. We had technical issues, and I was about a quarter into the show. I was gone from the screen and wasn't able to participate. So you did a great job with Dominick. By the way, that full show, and there are like 20 clips on there of that show are still on my YouTube channel. Another side note, the first show with Dominick Yezzo, boy, I tell you what, I put up just the quick short clips on it, and there were some amazing clips. They got like 7,000 immediate views on them, in the first few hours and stuff. But the second chance is I never had an opportunity because of technical difficulties to really deal personally with Dominick Yezzo one-on-one and ask him a number of questions, which I've got some today. Okay. Got some questions today. Like I got more questions than 59 minutes could ever allow, but I got my second chance to be on the mic here and to have him backstage. I feel like he's one of these guys, Dominick Yezzo. You'll hear a lot about this guy. But he's one of these guys, like I said to Anne Rule, the author, when I met her 20 years ago, I said, Anne, I feel like I've known you for maybe 200-300 years. Those kind of people. And that's what this guy is. So if I was granted a second chance to have him on stage today, and just, as they say, around your kitchen table and just chit-chatting, it's great. So without further ado, and I've already taken longer, I've got so much. I know. And I'm going to give you the microphone today. So if you're just joining us and you've missed part 1, definitely find it on Greg's YouTube channels. It's one of the best interviews, and I had a lot of microphone time, so I'm going to let you talk, but it's so interesting, and we go really deep on this show. So go back, watch part 1. It's so good. So without further ado, Greg, I'm going to give it back to you. Follow Greg's YouTube channel. That's GREGMEAKIN. Back to you. Very nice. Very well done. That's kind of like a mini intro. That's good. I'm going to introduce Dominick Yezzo. He is the general counsel, #1 legal attorney guy for the Vietnam Veterans of America. We'll be talking about them a lot in this show. But let's bring him on stage. Dominick, welcome to the show. You've been here, done that. I noticed really early that you're wearing your leather today, Dominick. So why don't you just say hi to everybody again? You've been here, done that. I labeled this show Dominick Yezzo Part Deux. My wife can't stand that when I go Quebec on her like that. But just say hi. Now take a couple 3 minutes. Val and I are just getting warmed up here, and just take the mic and you go for it, and we'll pick it up from there.
Of course. And I heard your introduction, and I'd like to add that the best work in the world is done across the kitchen table. So that's a great place to begin.
Nice.
Any endeavor that has value. I'm happy to be here again. Enjoy the exchanges that we have, the exchange of ideas. And I'm happy to represent the Vietnam Veterans of America as general counsel and as a veteran myself, who still maintains a very close connection to all veterans, but mostly those who were with us in that war particularly.
Well, you are everything Vietnam. You're everything Vietnam, and your story is amazing, Dominick. A side note here, and this you'll enjoy. I can't stand fake news, and I don't know if it was fake news I read this morning, but I really get because of our circles, with the veterans and the little war going on, the Iran war. My news feed, as is yours, probably real busy. And I heard, and I know it's either fake news or whatever. I heard that the Iran had launched some missiles at the Abraham Lincoln, the USS Abraham Lincoln. And I haven't even drilled into the story, but I'll just say before we start the show, ain't no one touching the Abraham Lincoln. Okay, I know the Abraham Lincoln from 20 years ago, and I knew guys on the Abraham Lincoln. This is a Nimitz class aircraft carrier, Val, CVN 72, And I got to meet those guys because the Abraham Lincoln was stationed across the water from me. It's stationed in Everett, Washington for a couple of years. And by chance, by hook or by crook, I got to meet a lot of those guys because they played hockey. And I happened to own an ice arena in Bremerton, Washington. So those guys are amazing. All of our aircraft carrier groups are amazing. And just to let everybody know on the other side, shall we say, you ain't touching our aircraft carriers. I'm going to call it fake news right up to the minute. But either way, I didn't expect to kind of chat about that a little bit, but do take a couple of minutes. We're going to go single screen for you here, Dominick. Tell people who you are. Take a couple of minutes, who you are. A lot of folks, even from the last show, I like to just reintroduce you. Tell people who you are, what you're doing. We'll go single screen on Dominick there, and go ahead. Mike is all yours, sir.
Greg, thank you so much. And Val as well. I appreciate the time and attention that you take for me and for all veterans. This is a veteran show. It's unique, and its power and what it can do has reaches that are global. I want to respond a little bit to the shots fired at the ship, the Lincoln. I'd like to remind everyone who is not combat savvy that even the victor suffers loss. War is about the destruction of people and property, and although we have this enormous might and power, and we have a very, very keen and well orchestrated attack on Iran. Make no mistake that even in the face of that power, you can suffer loss and damage, and so we pray for those soldiers, sailors, Marines, and all others, even the Space Force people who are actively involved in this conflict, that they remain safe and return to us in good shape. So, but I'm General Counsel for the Vietnam Veterans of America, and I've said this before, and I say it regularly lately. We have the biggest footprint for obtaining legislative corrections for veterans and their families. We do more for veterans and their families than any other organization, to my mind, even though there are many, many good organizations and several small organizations that buffet around in Washington, D.C. But our legislative power and prowess is well known and well taken by both sides of Congress, both Congress and the House of Representatives and the senators. Both sides are respectful of what our mission is, and that is to get what we can, what is deserved, what is justified for veterans and their families. And our credo, once again, is that never again will one generation of veterans abandon another. And I mention that credo because it's the center of everything that we do. It's why we do it. It comes from our battlefield cry. It comes from our battlefield connections, one soldier to another. And it comes from the remarkable togetherness of soldiers who fight for the United States of America, unified in purpose, regardless of what the orders are. We mind each other. We care for each other. We never leave anyone behind. And so there's a bonding which is indelible amongst veterans, which is sacred. And the Vietnam Veterans of America, as everyone knows, came home to a nation in turmoil, different from the turmoil at the current moment, but turmoil about the war was a big play in the late 60s and early 70s when I was in Vietnam. I was in Vietnam in 1968 and 69. But we came home to a nation that didn't know how to handle us, including the veterans from World War II and prior conflicts in Korea, who perhaps didn't know how to welcome us back. And the nation didn't know how to welcome us back. So we came home and took our uniforms off as soon as possible, so that we weren't identified so much as now when soldiers return. He and she can wear the uniform in pride, in honor, and in favor. And a large part of that is from what we have done. We've legislated powerfully to get respect. We gave ourselves our own respect, our own dignity. We honored ourselves because the nation didn't know how to do it. So my work continues. I'm as powerful as ever because of my direction and my credentials, which allow me to function in strength, in will, and result-oriented. And so, we serve veterans and their families, getting them benefits that they need, moving Congress to carry our needs, which we project to them by creating bills or by speaking and educating both sides of the House, both the House of Representatives and the Senate, to what it is that a veteran is. It could be an issue with post-traumatic stress. It could be an issue with toxic exposure, an issue of homelessness. There's a list of issues that we work on a regular and consistent basis. We even work with the Department of War to ensure that the Gulf War veterans who are really turned away from by the Veterans Administration have the same benefits that we got for toxic exposure with Agent Orange. So they're kind of forgotten. And one of the things the VA does is it separates the groups of veterans. And one of the things we do is we unite all the groups of veterans. I serve as much for Gulf War veterans and for veterans of the conflicts that came after my war as I do for us, for Vietnam veterans.
Hey, Dominic.
Yes.
I want to stop you there because you talked about your work within the justice system. And this is what I wanted to ask you specifically last show. Talk to the folks about your veterans incarcerated and in the justice system. I say this because this is as cutting edge as it gets. And what you're doing and what you're committing to is as cutting edge as it gets. Way back in 1977, I did 1 year of police technology, which is law enforcement, obviously. And the big word of the day was recidivism. Mm-hmm. Recidivism. And I found out, and it's stuck with me since the late 70s. I found out that this point where kids get arrested, in this case, Vietnam vets, they get arrested, or before they get arrested or put into the system. If somehow someone connects with this kid before he gets into the system, or at least gives him an opportunity out, right out of the gate, they're given almost just kind of a slap on the hand. And I learned that they learn a lesson, and 85% of the time they don't go back into the system. Recidivism. Talk about that, because the minute I had heard about your incarceration program, and it's an 18-month deferment, right? Talk about that specifically. It's really one of those questions I wanted to get to last show. So go ahead, Dominic.
Thank you very much, Greg, and Val as well. Well, I need to start at the beginning, and I need to speak to what war is. And for many of us, war becomes a moral issue. War is about the destruction of people and property, and the things that we do that are good military operations. It could be a good military kill. It could be a good military result. Could trouble those of us who think that life has a sacred base, and it's not. I'm passionate about my country. I'm exacting about being proud of America and what it stands for, what it means, and the willingness that young men and women have to protect that. We are really the greatest, most beautiful government on earth, I think. Complex, of course, but we have a lot to be proud of, and I'm happy to defend it. I always was, and I don't regret my service, my time in Vietnam, in war, in battle at all. The older I get, the more important and more vibrant it is in me. There's a wisdom that comes from it. However, the return of soldiers, if we're going to talk about veterans who are incarcerated, you need to talk about the conditions that veterans return from war with, including me. And those conditions are known as post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury. So we have to begin at the beginning. And many soldiers who return back to civilian life have this confused effort by the people who we return to, who are applauding us, and yet we have this kind of melancholy, sadness, confusion that we left our guys back there, still in harm's way, and those guys were our brothers and sisters, and they were everything to us. We protected each other. So you have that confusion about leaving them. And the rest of it is that there's a moral impact on those of us who come back and have witnessed death and destruction of property and been part of it. And that becomes a moral question that the government doesn't address. It can't, of course. You can't think about an army with the same kinds of moral dignity that I have faith in. You can't. It doesn't work. An army's got to move, and it can't move on sentiment or on sacredness. It moves on mission. It moves on purpose. It moves on result. And the results are clear once they're accomplished. And the ways that we get those results are harmful. It's about the destruction of people and property, and proudly so in many cases. However, the repeated call to destruction of people and property and the face-off of humanity, the face-off of an enemy is the face-off of another man with a gun or a bazooka or whatever it is that they're shouldering to harm you. And so you return with this ideal of returning home, which is wonderful, but the quick transition back to civilian life scatters us. And so many return with post-traumatic stress, which is a little complex to define. It has 1,000 faces, but also with traumatic brain injury, which is easier to know because it's medically discernible. Traumatic brain injury, I'll talk about first a little bit, if I may, is a discernible change in the frontal lobe of the brain. So the soft tissue of the brain up here in the front of foreheads and a little further back there is changed. It's not damaged; it's changed. The result of repeated explosions, or even firing your gun 500 times a day, or being in the witness of heinous and destruction, and repeated kinds of destruction of people and property works on you, even if you don't think it does or know it does. And that work becomes apparent when you come home, and the world is recognized as kind and simple, but you're in trouble. You have a moral dilemma inside of yourself, and I call it a moral dilemma because soldiers have faith, and faith is what kept me going. Faith is what I held on to. And so if you come home with those conditions, like many soldiers do, it's possible, if you don't have a support a good family or a good neighborhood or good friends. And remember, all soldiers come from the same places, right? The people that join the military most of the time are from traditionally underserved places in cities and in the countryside. As well, the face of that, even in soldiers who are drafted, when they were drafting soldiers, and it could happen again tomorrow, are soldiers who were not able to be in college or not able to have a deferment for any reason. And so the same soldiers, the same people fight all the wars all the time. And they're valiant, heroic. Military teaches us exactly to function. It teaches us to work in a unit. It gives us a skill. And if you don't have that skill correct and 100% right, you don't go forward. So everybody knows something in the military. Everybody's graduated to the level of your work, whatever it is. And I was in civil affairs and psychological operations, which is a G5 unit in the 1st Air Cavalry Division. And so, but I still carried a rifle, and I was wounded, and my work was various. It wasn't infantry, but I was around that and in that enough so that I was part of it, part of all of it, or everybody's part of it, whether you're infantry or a cook. And so you come home and you have this head full of broken glass, which I've defined again and again, and nobody knows it because you look well. But inside there, you're troubled, and the trouble begins, to my mind, with an affection, a personal affection for your own morality and your own faith, which is vibrated against each other. And so you got this problem. And so the problem can stop you from going forward because it's a depressing kind of issue. And you need strength. You need to be cured. You need to be understood. And nobody understands you but another veteran. And so veterans get arrested because they struggle with PTS, well, I call it post-traumatic stress, which could mean that they can't acclimate back, and that they start to self-medicate, either drinking or smoking pot or drugs or something else, or they can't feel meaningfully connected to anything anymore, or they feel guilty about a good military kill. Those kinds of things peep up in you. And after the excitement of the return home, after the heroic entrance back into your home, your neighborhood, your family, your friends, you're left with yourself. And a lot you can't handle that because you don't know how to. You can't fix it. When you come home from war 2 ways: dead or changed. There's no other way to come home. So every veteran who's gone to a war zone is changed or dead. And so those things cause some who have post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury who don't have a family like I did, a big supportive family, who guided me and helped me and ensured me and told me to get to work, wash your face, comb your hair, go to work, was my mother said. I repeat that everywhere I go so people understand. And it's the best advice I ever got. But you could see where if somebody else who separates from society, is removed, is and nobody understands post-traumatic stress, which they used to call battle fatigue or shell shock, and nobody understands the memory that's troubling this guy or this gal, and they're likely to drink and resist arrest, and worse, maybe a car accident, or maybe domestic violence, or maybe worse, maybe a drug deal that goes bad. And so the percentage of veterans who are incarcerated, getting to that place that you want me to chat about, needs a big introduction, a big premise. Those persons who are not served because of their illness, their battle their battle illness, their war trouble, are likely to commit crimes, and the statistics are high. And so I serve veterans incarcerated because I understand post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury. And I also never leave anyone behind because I wasn't left behind. When I got hit, I was medevaced by the Marines, and they came in to get me without anybody telling them what to do. They picked up the call and they saved my life. I was bleeding out. And I said this before, and I'll say it again. The guy who got out was a door gunner, and he was 19 years old. So was I. He ripped the first aid kit off the back of the wall of that chopper, and he put the coagulant on me, stuck his finger in the wound. I was bleeding out, and hit me with morphine, and they bandaged me up, and they compressed that. They tourniqueted me around my chest, and they got me to that little tent, that little aid station, like a MASH station in the jungle. And rushed me in. It was within 7 minutes, and saved my life. I was full of shrapnel in there, right? So, and then then they took me to the hospital ship where I convalesced for a month, for 30 days or 31 days. And that experience, that trauma, that saving was not by somebody who ordered them to get me. It's by guys who picked up the call. That's what a veteran does. Now, that's what I do for persons who are forgotten most. The ones who struggle with post-traumatic stress, traumatic brain injury, who are doing 25 to life because they couldn't cope. And it's not every veteran that has PTSD and TBI. No. And some veterans they were criminals before they went into the military, of course. And some are criminals when they come out, of course. But the service-connected issues that we stand for, and that I stand for in this committee, begins with caring for veterans who are incarcerated. Now, the way to handle that is we developed a program starting with veteran treatment courts, where if we get word that somebody's arrested, and at the point of arrest, if they acknowledge that they're a veteran, some veterans do not do that, but if they acknowledge they're veterans, we get on that case, and we go to the court, and we established a veteran treatment court, which is a judge that only hears cases 1 day a week, half day a week, in the Supreme Court or whatever. That's in New York or wherever it is, in any other state, and however it's called in any other state. It's that court of that jurisdiction. And we serve that veteran there and try to save them by giving them counseling, comprehensive medical need, letting them know that we're here. We go to court as mentors, and we try to save that person. And we get them, if they plea out to the charge, and if the case was not too violent, the judge agrees, we can save that young person from incarceration or from further mistakes civilly in the civil world that they're trying to reorganize themselves in, which they can't. And so I don't leave those behind. So there's veteran treatment court, there's visits to prison, and then we have part of the program. It's a tier 3 that we developed, and the third part is getting ahead while getting out. And we go, if we know that there's a veteran who's about to be released in 6 months, we go in there, befriend that person as a veteran to veteran. And when they're out, we're waiting for them. And we'll offer them clothing. We'll try to help them with a job. We'll try to get housing for them. We'll try to welcome them back to the community and keep them away from what they did and where they were when they were incarcerated. So it's a 3-tier program that the Vietnam Veterans of America have developed, serving veterans in prison, of course, and many are doing 25 to life. They'll never be home. Serving veteran treatment courts, initiating those courts around the country. When I first started doing this, there were a few of them. Now there are hundreds of them in every state, and they make sense. And serving veterans before they return back to civilian life by offering them a return to the community, veteran to veteran, not a soft return, but a return where you got to shape up. We're here for you. So you have to do the right thing. There's no choice. You have no choice. You have to do the right thing. You have to work, and you have to suck it up, and you have to get right. And we're here to help you. If your gut feels like it's going to explode because of whatever it is that's affecting you from post-traumatic stress, we got you. If you TBI, we're going to get you to a hospital, a doctor, or a veteran military medical place that would understand what traumatic brain injury is.
Judge Yezzo,
Yes, sir.
what's the success rate of the program? Do you have results and stuff? And how's the prognosis look in the next few years?
We're aged out. So Vietnam veterans are we're between 76 and 85. So
Right.
we're aged out, and many Vietnam veterans who committed heinous crimes or terrible crimes, Class A felonies, are dying in jail, right? They're dying in prison. But the success of that could be me showing up and saying Happy Thanksgiving in early November, and that's successful. It has no statistic, right? The success of entering and bringing the warden to understand what post-traumatic stress is, and having the warden put the veterans in a separate ward where they no longer function as that prison bebop that they have, that thing, that the prison look. You can tell it from 100 miles away, right? They become soldiers once they're in a separate ward, and there's zero discipline. I have that statistic. When you put veterans in a separate ward, there are no discipline issues, none, zero. We manage ourselves. It's veteran to veteran, and it's a closed company. It's a unit, and we all remember how to function as a unit. It's part of the strength the military offers us, and it's indelible. So, but the statistic of recidivism is it's scattered. It depends state to state. It's lower when we have a handle on it. And remember, the institutions, even if it's in the same state, are governed by a warden or a prison administrator, and each institution has its own way to grow flowers. It has its own way to handle its inmates. It has its own shape, its own size, its own way. And so it's case by case with that. And we travel around as much as we can to get wardens to put veterans in a separate ward. It's remarkable what happens.
Every case, I'm sure, as you say, is different. And the ages, generations of the vets are different now. What I'll say here, just as kind of a final note on this subject, I encourage you, first of all, congratulate you for working on this cause, this incarcerated veterans in the justice system. I congratulate on that, and I encourage you and the VVA to continue working on it. And even long after you and I are gone. Okay, so you've got a brand new generation of combat veterans who are coming up here, the Iran War. Yeah. It's going to be a brand new generation.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's
more different kind of going to be a different kind of trouble, a different kind of moral trouble, because the war is intelligent artificially, but managed by human intelligence at this point. And the war has a separate kind of newness to it, which is technologically advanced. It's absolutely stunning to me. The kind of fireworks, the kind of firepower, the kind of charges that are exploding around the Middle East and elsewhere. It's awful and highly advanced. They can put a 122 millimeter rocket right through the garage door window.
No,
you just see this black cloud. You don't know what goes on inside the garage. It's awful. Anybody who's been to war knows that. It's unspeakable. But the issue of these returners, they're going to have the same issues. War is war. It doesn't matter whether you get hit in the head with a rock from a giant slingshot fighting the Romans if you're a Carthaginian, or you get shot or hit with hand grenade like I did, or you get your arm and leg blown off like these
Right.
Gulf War and further veterans have, or you suffer the exposure of the kind of damage that you do by firing 1,000 rockets in a
Oh
weekend.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And seeing and knowing that hit a munitions plant, but knowing that people were in that plant,
Right.
that, or hitting a truck that's driving across a road that's carrying munitions. They're all legal targets. It's all
Yeah.
military target, and it's exacting. There's hardly any waste anymore. So the civilian population, all wars are fought where people live. Remember that. And the Iranians were smart enough to put a lot of what they have beside residential areas. So,
Of course.
to avoid being hit, but our targeting and specificity with this technological advancement is pinpoint accurate.
It's incredible. It's incredible. My father-in-law, Deb's dad, was a pilot, USA Air Force pilot, B-52, full bird colonel. But he used to say they'd pull the trigger unloading those bombs, and that really bothered them because they knew what they were going to do when they hit. But before I forget, I just want to give you a quick question for your take on it. I tend to be very forgetful, so I get stuff off my list. I always joke. I can remember 60 years ago, but I can't remember how I started a sentence. But something occurred to me watching because it sounds cliche, but I watch war closely, as do most people. But this Iran thing. As you say, I cannot believe the technology. I cannot believe the thousands of sorties and missions and stuff. It's just unbelievable. Side note, I had a theory watching, because so much footage is available now with cell phones. And I want your take on this. For generations, we've been talking about the equality of women. Okay? There's been a lot of talk about it. And a theory came to me watching this Iran war is that I believe there is a profession that men and women are absolutely equal. And maybe in some cases, women better than men. It's totally a theory, but I'm going to ask Captain McCormick about it. And that's being pilots. We saw a downed fighter jet, video-wise, a couple weeks ago from Iran. It was this gal who was the pilot. I think she was F-15 or something pilot. She got shot down, and she got greeted by some of the locals wonderfully. But I was just so impressed with. She was shot down in a fighter jet. Totally had her act together, squared away, polite and professional with the locals. Still had her helmet on, And I'm saying right now, I'm really bullish on women in the military as far as pilots and logistical stuff. You might remember, I don't know if you saw the clip on it, but I posted a clip on the Veteran Channel, YouTube channel, which was autistic drone pilot gal. James had trained, female, autistic drone pilot, and she was the best pilot James had ever had. So I want just your comment on that, on women's role, and is indeed being a pilot, these positions, are they equal in your eyes?
Of course. So here's the way I think about that. Is one of the things the military is great at is just finding who you are and what you can do.
There you go.
So they put you in the right place by knowing you and what your capabilities are most of the time. And so keeping that military fold out of the personnel, which is what they train and how they train them, and they prepare them for specific duties that are part of the whole, right? So to my mind, woman or man, they need to be suited for this job.
Right.
And men are different, women are different. And women amongst themselves are different, and men amongst themselves are different. And women amongst men are different, and men again amongst women are different. And there are suitable and women could be the same, and men could be the same, and women. The issue here is not about man or woman, although I think some people are misplaced in combat. But it's about what your capability is to do this particular job. And so, if you're a woman who has no real shoulder into hand-to-hand combat, or riding sure. as a 50 caliber gunner on a convoy truck, that's the wrong placement for that person. It might be the wrong placement for a man as well. That guy might be a better clerk, or a better cook, or better something, or be the quartermaster, something of that sort. So I think you need to recognize and find the suitable condition of that human being for this job in the military.
Right.
It's really the way to go. And so your pool of able bodies, which the military needs, boots on the ground, comes from every state, from every gender. They have to be well matched to the job.
Right. The best person for each job, period. Everyone's wired differently, like you say. A great coach in sports is someone who can take an island of misfit toys, a whole bunch of characters, and bring them together in a common cause, common mission. And that's a real gift. Really good comment there. And
Greg, remember too that some women are not like in battle. You got to go forward. Some men are not willing to do that. Some women would not be. Their reaction would be less, and that's a mistake because it puts everybody in harm's way. The unit's got to function, especially in close quarter battle. Got to function as a unit. Nobody can step back. Everybody's got to stay unified on this thing. So,
Judge Yezzo, I want to switch gears a little bit. This is good stuff. We'll go back to a little bit of the VVA and stuff. I want to switch gears a little bit because I don't want to forget. Imagine that. I say to my wife all the time, I just don't want to forget here, so I got to get it off my mind. I want to talk because it's what I wanted to bring up on the last show. I want to talk about this little book that I read. Actually, I read it 2 or 3 times, and it's right there. And Val, you could even pull it up on the screen there. A GI veteran, a GI's Vietnam Diary, A Journey Through Myself by Dominick Yezzo. You had mentioned earlier a 19-year-old. You were 19 when you went to war. So I want to go back. I want to take you back, imagine this, a little bit to that era, because I want to ask you a few questions about the book. It's available on Amazon. It's a absolutely fabulous book. It's as you'll relay here, Dominic, it's a diary. You kept a diary, really. It was a year and a day that you were in Vietnam. Memory here, August 14th, 1968 until August 15th, 1969, and then you were flying home on the 16th. So it was 1 year. And from the last episode, you said you wrote it, as I've done in the past, keeping a journal in case you died. In case you died. And it was really amazing because it was literally just a day by day, sometimes analytical and complex, sometimes just a quip or whatever. But I wanted to ask you a few specific questions about the book that I had, because I read it a couple of times. Sure. I've got highlights all over the place in it. I want to ask you about Sergeant So. I want to ask you what he meant to you. And I also wanted to ask you, did you ever know him after the war, after Vietnam, or what happened to him? Please just take as long as you need here, Dominic. Single screen, Val. Talk about Sergeant So.
Yeah, Sergeant So was a Vietnamese regular. He was in the Vietnamese Army, and I was with the Civil Affairs Psychological Operations Unit with the 1st Air Cavalry Division, and we were up north by the DMZ at a place called Camp Evans, and we worked out of LZ Nancy as well, which was a smaller base camp, like a landing zone for a helicopter, and a bigger base camp, which was Camp Evans. But this was a camp that had 3 rounds of barbed wire around it, and we had bunkers set up within 50 yards of each other, and we had guard duty every night, and we lived in tents and huts, and the headquarters company was in a bunker, a command bunker that was half dug into the ground, and sandbags with metal PCP and more sandbags on the top to protect what was going on inside, where the brass was, the colonels, majors, colonels, and above, including General Forsyth, who showed up there on a regular, consistent basis, who was in charge of the G5 section, which was a big deal, civil affairs, psychological operations. So Nguyen Dang So Na was his name. Sergeant So was, he was a Vietnamese regular whose family was from Saigon, and he worked with our unit as an interpreter, because one of the things that we did in civil affairs and psychological operations was, if we captured North Vietnamese Army or Viet Cong, and we found that some of these captured soldiers were willing to be I don't want to use the word trained, but were willing to be psychologically adapted to democracy. They were willing to understand what American democracy was. There'd be a small class for them. And if they seemed to be that way and were helpful and ready to defect, literally, even though they were captured, or they might have walked in too. Some of them quit. Then Sergeant So would help us to get information from these, because he spoke Vietnamese and he was an intelligent guy. He was a good soldier. He was fun, and we were in his land. And it felt, when he was around us, it felt like we were a guest of his nation. It's what he did, and he was a character. He knew battle. He grew up in war. He remembered the French in Saigon and in Vietnam. He remembered his father being a soldier, and he grew up in literally in war-torn Vietnam since 1950s, and now it's 69, and his homeland is in war. Has been in war. It's been occupied by the French, somehow the Chinese, and somehow the Americans, right? And the Americans were occupied 500,000 soldiers there. And so he assisted us in our making of reparations. So one of the things we did in PSYOPs was, if a village was inadvertently destroyed, we'd go out to that village with Sergeant So, and we'd make reparations. We'd find a village leader, and we would pay them for the repair of what was damaged. And we tried to listen to what the matter was. And war is fought where people live. It's part of the hardship. We would take a veterinarian, military man, out with us, who would try to show them how to better treat their water buffalo, give their pigs inoculations if he found that the pigs had a disease or so. I thought that was redundant, because the Vietnamese people have been taking care of their water buffalo for 1,000 years. So, but we'd come in with this. It was an American goodness, but it was not always received well. I was part of that crew. He also helped us to write pamphlets and leaflets, which we dropped over battle sites. And he helped us to produce the right language for those who would receive this, receive these little placards that we'd literally scatter. I dropped them. We'd take cartons of it in a helicopter, and over the battle site, I just dropped them over the enemy. And he was that kind of partner for us, and I befriended him, and he befriended me. I tried to speak Vietnamese, and he enjoyed that. So he would try to teach me Vietnamese, and I would, teach him about a subject and a predicate in English. And we had a lot of laughs together. We drank beer together, and if we went to town or were in a town, he would act as a kind of chaperone. He showed us around and introduced us in places where we would otherwise not be introduced, and especially me, because I was trying to learn the language, and he enjoyed that as I enjoyed him. And after I returned, when you leave your unit, you leave them all behind. And after I returned, it was a long time, and I got a letter from him, and the letter was right before the end of the war in 1975, and he was trying to get out. And so I took the letter, and I was a student an undergraduate student working 2 jobs, trying to make it work. And I was just married then too. So things started to settle after that for me, because I had purpose, and I had a design on my life, which was not, my head was not so scrambled, because I had purpose and direction. And so I read the letter, and he was asking me, I don't know how he found my address, but because I didn't live in the same place that I did while I was, when I came home to in Vietnam. I had a different address in New York City. But I took the letter, tried to get it into the Vietnamese embassy, and the message I got there was that there's hundreds of thousands of people trying to get out, and we don't know how you can sponsor that. And right now, it hurts to talk about this, because I didn't have the same power or enjoy the same wisdom that I do now. I would have insisted then and found a way, but I was not yet savvy about the way things worked. I was 27, 28 years old. Just had a bachelor's degree, and I was studying to get a master's degree at the City University of New York, and that's before I took a law degree subsequent to that. But I feel guilty that I didn't put enough effort into getting him home, and I never heard from him again.
You don't know if he's alive?
I don't.
Well, he'd be like in his 80s, 70s, 80s now.
Yeah, no,
right?
80s. He was older than we were. He was maybe 30. We were 19. So he'd be older than that. Yeah, but a wonderful person. He introduced me to. I was interested in Vietnam, and that's why he clamped on to me, because I was trying to get it right.
Right.
I asked him about his family, and I asked him about his grandparents.
Right.
And I wanted to know why this fish sauce was so popular there, because it tasted so terrible. And we would giggle and have a beer and laugh about stuff like that. And he, they were smaller than us. All the Vietnamese people were smaller than us.
Sure.
And he was like a 100 push-up guy. Like he'd do like 100 pushes, a piece of wire that weighed about 120 pounds. Right?
Oh yeah.
And no, he's our guy. He was our guy. He was on the choppers with us. He was really, and he was a class act. He was educated. Sure. His family was educated. So, in the book, it really seemed that like there was a deep spiritual, soulful connection you 100%. Had with him from the beginning. 100%. I have a question. And again, anything like this, we're going back to 1968, 69 here. You were 19. This book, I'm telling you what, I just got to talk for a quick minute here. Because I've read the book 2-3 times. The book really took me back. I'm younger than the Vietnam generation guys. I'm 67 now, but it took me back to all of the things that I remembered as a kid, starting around 9 years old, 10 years old, etc. And it's weird because it was just basically a 1 year diary, but you took the reader through so many things. I've even made a few notes here. You saw the Bob Hope show. It was through Apollo 7 the first time Apollo's launched, all the way to Apollo 11, their moon landing, all in that time, July 20th, 69. You took us through that.
there's so much that we were talking about the Robert F. Kennedy assassination, which was just before you took us back. And as a side note, I felt, and you'll relate it, I felt through the whole book that bombs are raining down on my head every night, every day. I continued to hear the fear. Obviously, you shared it really openly, but this true fear for the first time in your life at 19 years old, knowing that you're going to die any second. Take us back. Just go ahead, take us back to that, and anything you feel uncomfortable sharing. But I'm just going out of your book of how it kind of moved me.
It's harder than carrying a gun and being in a firefight in a sense, because you don't know where they're coming from. And we were hit 3, 4, 5 times a week, and sometimes all night. And we got hit. We were in a base camp, it's like wide open. We had helicopters landing in and out. We were a unit. We were a headquarters company in a unit that was the unit that was designed for the warfare in Vietnam. The 1st Air Cavalry Division. So we were the cav from like the Civil War, but with helicopters, right? We traveled on a new kind of horseback, right? And we got there in a hurry and left, hopefully in a hurry if we could. But the gunfire was a little bit more controllable than the mortars and rockets, and you don't know where it's coming from or how it could hit you or what or where, and it's real because every time they lob those things in, right, that somebody gets killed or maimed badly, and there's all that hustle to save us, all that. And then the automatic fire on the perimeter, and then choppers go up. We had patrols out at night, and we would try to move the patrol if we thought it was coming from the south. There'd be a LRP unit along a reconnaissance unit, or there'd be like a unit out there waiting to see. If they were coming, it'd be like a half a mile out of the base in the dark, in the jungle, waiting to see if they could spot anything or see anything. And sometimes they did before the Vietnamese were able to set up their rockets and mortars. The mortars were accurate. The rockets were wild. So the mortars, once you get savvy about being in the war, and you get, after I got hit, and I came back to my unit, I was a good soldier. I understood this was for keeps. And this is about life and death. And I was a good soldier to my friends. I was a good soldier to the unit. I was a good soldier. So the mortars, you could, when you hear the first and the second one, the first one lands, and then when the second one lands, you know if you're in danger, in your harm's way, because they walk those in. They click it up, put another boom, boom, boom. And if it's 25 yards to your right or left or above or behind you or before you, you see the way they're walking through, and you know that nothing's going to fall on you. But the rockets were wild. They were wild. Couldn't predict them, and they would even the way they came in, the noise that they made, and they were like wild. They were wildly anywhere, all over. They would hit a place, and it would be a designated spot, not an accurate spot, but it's a designated area, and they came flying in, and they were powerful, and blew us up, and you scramble into the bunker, and then you start making these theories about, well, if it's my time, it's going to be my time, and all the GIs talk about, one guy believes this, another guy believes that. Some people say if I get hit, I get hit. Other people say we can't stand this anymore, and so I always thought life is a sacred base, and how terrible to be wounded badly or killed by an errant rocket. What does it mean? Like those kinds of things face you. And then my fear was enormous. I was afraid. You live it, you eat it. You got to eat your fear. And it's real fear. It's a life and death fear. Like the war is about life and death. So the chief tension in war is life and death. And we don't know that in America unless you're in a very bad neighborhood where the chief tension is life and death. Could be, right? People have a code there that they know how to abide by or respect. But in war, the chief tension is life and death. That's it. That's what this is about. And at that level, many things happen. One is you bond with your unit. You accomplish your training to the T, and you walk around with that anxiety. If you like me, I think life has a sacred base, and I would. I can stand the death of it. What does it mean if these 4 guys died tonight? That didn't change much in the overall of it. The dead, and I knew them. What does it mean if we, when we hurt them, and 50 of them were killed? And why that didn't change the war so much. Like that, you think these thoughts, and you try to sleep through it. And thank God for my faith. My faith kept me going. My faith, and as I speak to this now, I can feel my anxiety. I remember it. I remember it.
Yeah.
And I pray for everybody who's in harm's way in war right now.
You were 19 years old. It's just amazing. You're 19 years old. You documented that year. And as I say, if there's anything kind of uncomfortable or emotional about this chat, because I do like to throw out questions of stuff that really moved me. And Sergeant So did. A few other things did. I want to throw another question at you. And again, if no details needed here or whatever, it's probably, I love to ask questions that no one's ever asked on the air before. So you just you're
taking me apart brick by brick.
By the way, I was going to say, you know that you are as New York gets, right? You know that, right?
I was born in Manhattan. I come from an Italian immigrant family. I'm a New Yorker. Yeah, I was
3 degrees.
City University of New York for 3 degrees.
Sure. You haven't lost your accent. I did a chapter in my book called "How to Talk New York," and I was kind of comparing it to Trump, right? Donald Trump, because I said how to talk New York. It's real easy. I taught my kids this. Just say anything you want to a person, then put a comma, and then call them a name. Okay, so like, hey Dominic, how are you? Comma, you jerk.
Yeah.
You bum.
Yeah.
All right, that's how you talk New York.
I read your book too, and I saw that part of it. I was giggling for a half an hour.
Did you? Everybody said about that book, no matter what, because it's controversial. It's really dealing with 2 sides of very opposed, of a very big opposed aisle. But one thing that was common throughout it, everyone said they learned something or got a point of view that they didn't have before. Because I juggled Canada versus the United States. No one in Canada knows anything about the U.S. and no Americans know anything about Canada, even if they think they do. But either way, I use it. But I wanted to ask you a question about your book before I forget. You had said in the last show, by the way, the last show was phenomenal. I posted a number of clips on YouTube and stuff, and it's weird. The first batch of clips that went up of Dominick Yezzo, we got like 7,000 views. I mean, without even sharing it. So it was really cool, very powerful. I have a feeling there's going to be duplicate numbers on this show, but I wanted to ask you a question, and it's a controversial question, or at least something you don't have to give as many details as you feel like. But you had said in the first show that what saved you was the women in the country.
Yes.
We can start with the Rosie the Riveters. By the way, I not knew one, but lived in the same town as one. There were 2, by the way, but our moms, gals, wives, girlfriends, etc. And I want to ask you a question, and this is I'll throw out 4 names. Okay, just 4 names, and you detail as much or little as you want, but just what women meant to us. Get this: Julie, Jennifer, Tien, even Hoa. Chat, if you would, just a little bit about that.
Wow. The women healed us when we came home. We faced the nation in turmoil, and when I came home, the war was at its height. I left in August of 1969, and I got home to my mother's kitchen on the day, August 17th, the day that Woodstock was on, and there were 500,000 music-loving people in a field in upstate New York. It was like a concert that's historic, and there were 500,000 soldiers in Vietnam. The dichotomy was unintended, but it's real. It's ironic almost. And so when I got home, everybody was there waiting for me. My family, my cousins, my brothers, of course, my friends. And my mother was most most understanding of the truth of it. And she began to heal me immediately. She, the mother knows you. The mother senses you. And I was not articulate so much, I don't think, but she did remark early that the boy that she gave them is not the man that they returned to her. She said that, and she also said, I said this, I'll say it everywhere because it's the greatest advice. She said, wash your face and comb your hair and go to work. Because she asked me what I wanted to do, and I said, Mom, I don't know, Ma. And so she fed me, and I had marks and scars, and I weigh 185 pounds now. Then I weighed 150 then, right? I was skinny. I didn't know it, but I was not the one that went, right? And I was wide-eyed. I was like what? I passed a golf driving range coming home from the airport. And I said, what the hell? People are hitting a golf ball. Well, my guys are being shelled right now. I couldn't stand it. I didn't know where to look. I didn't know what to do. And so the women, especially the ones coming home that appreciated the damage that they did to a man's soul, healed us. And the girlfriends were young, and the woman in Vietnam who I had a crush on, she got blown up in a bus. And I don't know if the crush was real or not, but I would see her on occasion. And there's a very awkward and stumbly, and just because she lifted her head and greeted me, I was like in a human world. I felt good, and others, which change us, heal us, brighten us, give us the reason to shape up in a different way, to civilize ourselves, to understand that love isn't only saving somebody in combat. To remember that, because like war is a total immersion, and when you return to civilian life, the choices are infinite. People don't understand that. You can do whatever you want. It's what you could do. You could be anything. You could go anywhere. And America is full of possibilities. And in New York, everything is possible. I'm sure of that. I have 3 degrees. I come from a working class family, and I accepted into law school. I was appointed a judge, administrative law judge, and I functioned as an attorney and as a professor. The good fortune of that is American. Couldn't do that in Italy. And it's more reserved and sought out. And so in New York, in America, it's possible. If you got the will, you can go. You can do it. You got it. It's going to happen there. And so the women didn't understand us, but they healed us, and the mothers understood us, and really cured us. And I honor my mother, Josephine, who struggled when they got the telegram that I was wounded. I mean, imagine that. There was no cell phones, no communication. She got a telegram. Your son is wounded, been medevac, and is convalescing on the hospital ship USS Repose that's somewhere in the Gulf of Tonkin. What the hell? I wrote her a letter, right? I wrote a letter every day when I was on the ship, and the letters came scattered to her, but they'd come 4 at a time when she wouldn't get one for 2 weeks, depending on how it got out of Vietnam, right? And we didn't even have to put a stamp on it. All we have to do is United States military, and give it to her, and the helicopter pick all the mail up from the base, and take it to the Da Nang or wherever, I don't know, wherever the postal service was. I forget the name of it. There's a military postal service. And then the mail would come, and you'd get 5 letters at once and nothing for a month, like that, because of where we were. But it's that care of the broken heart, which needs to be mended, that women who love you understand. And not all women that you're attracted to love you, but not in the same way, But my mother is the example. She loved me, right? She loves her children. And here I come home. I came home. And the house was bright and ready, and she had been preparing for a week. And everyone was there. And she had her son, 5 of us. She had her 5 children in the same house. It was good. Yeah.
I cannot imagine what mothers went through.
And fathers.
Through the centuries of kids either coming home like you in the celebration or sadly not. I have one more quick question for you that I wanted to get off my heart, and then I'm going to actually, after your answer, I'm going to turn it over to Val. She has just been facilitating behind the scenes, but she is a true Miss Val, our military gal, and I'm going to have her ask you a question or give you some.
Greg, you're lucky to have her. She's a professional.
I'll tell you what, we're like Val Olson and I are like nitro and glycerin. We're 2 different generations. She's going to be 45 on April Fool's Day, though, by the way, this April 1st. But we are, like I say, nitro and glycerin. But very seriously, we epitomize what my goal in life is, and in having multi-generations, like we talked about, teams, multi-generations, multi-personalities, et cetera, working together. And I just want to tell you, I've been on a lot of teams before, but Val Olson is like my favorite team member of all time. And I won't be surprised if you see actually a show out there with her and me as hosts.
Yeah, before you go, though, I want to recommend your book to this audience again.
Sure. Oh, cool.
Take a look at that.
Go for it.
What it does is uniquely Greg MEAKIN. It is like you jump right into the story, and there are 100 stories in there, and the human folly and seriousness side by side gives this the credibility of something that everybody should pay attention to. Even the way you design the cover there, it's going to take, you can stare at that for a couple hours and still, maybe I should call him and ask him what that means.
I want you to stay on this coo. I love it when you coo over me here, but that cover was designed by my artist son, Carson.
Oh, great.
So this is original.
Well, father and son. Great.
And the follow-up book, he's already got it written, is going, Why I Came to America and What I Think Now, Part Deux. But continue on that. I love it when you coo over me here.
Well,
John.
you know, you're a Canadian and you understand America. And I think now you're American. You live in Arizona, but and you like hockey. You're a hockey guy. Your life has been dedicated in many, many ways to the sport of hockey, which I'm going to get hit in the head for saying this, is probably truest in Canada. Not that we're doing a bad job here with the Rangers, get that, but it's truest there. And
Don't get me started. Don't get me started. I'll just say to all the Americans out there, Montreal is the home base, the heart of hockey in the history of the world. That's all I'll say. And it is different from any other, quote, hockey city out there. So I'll just toss that out there. It's definitely in my soul. And honestly, victory and excellence and achieving the top of one's profession is also as well. So go ahead on that. I really do appreciate this feedback, Dominic. I do.
It's fun. No, the book is fun, and it's like having you sitting across from me.
Okay, my usual question. Now that this is great, I'm gonna have to pay you about $5 for promoting me here, but I always ask people if there's one thing you took, one or two things you just took from the book. My World War II grandfather just said that. Always said that whatever book, whatever year of education you went through, how many people you meet, you always take one or two things with you. Of all the things in the book, is there anything that you take with you or something you'll remember or was just kind of special for you?
Yeah, I want to make it abstract. Here's what I know. I learned this. The only things that change your life are the people you meet and the books you read. Now, with you, I've got both, and so what your energy and your professionalism at your craft and your attention to veterans, having formed this channel, which is growing, is remarkable. And because I'm a veteran and because I associate with veterans and I serve veterans, you're an icon. You're a hero. The book is it starts just like you do. You drop us right in. There's no the water's cold. You jump in and then it warms up. And so what you do is you connect the human condition to both triumph, folly, and heartbreak, all at the same time.
Well, I'm going to have to quote you on that in the future. I'm going to have to quote you on that in the future. And as you probably noticed too, I weaved in a lot of kind of deep secrets as well, where I talked about my past alcoholism very quietly, how I got over that, building an ice arena 25 years ago, by the way, 25 years. But I can't thank you enough on that, just for that feedback. And honestly, what makes me feel good just as a man is the kind of feedback has been very similar to that. One guy said to me, and he's total left-wing guy, call him, okay? Just call him a left-wing guy, Democrat, whatever. I won't say anything controversial. But he said, the nice thing is he kept me laughing through the book. It just kept me laughing. Yeah. He says, no matter what, right? Yeah. So I do so appreciate that. I'm going to ask you one more question. And if you can, kind of be brief on this, maybe just take a couple of minutes, because I want to turn the mic exclusively back to Val Olson and have her ask you a question or give you your feedback. And that's this. PsyOps. Why you and why so quick? It's like they put you into PsyOps before your feet were even on the ground. Go ahead, take a couple of minutes, Dominic.
Military finds you, and they know who you are, and they use you for their best advantage. And so PsyOps was heady. It's a heady idea. Not that we weren't in a combat zone, but it's heady, and it's ironic because we there's a premise about reparations, and I think I'm well suited for that. I'd rather repair than destroy. I think I'd rather save than exclude. And so seeing all of that and seeing the heartache of the civilian population there, and carrying the Constitution of the United States of America in everything that I did, even as a young man there, was something that suited me. And the military knows that kind of thing about you somehow. They find you. You take a battery of tests when you are drafted. And I remember clearly when I was at Fort Hamilton, I was drafted. I showed up there, which is they send you a token and a letter. You're in the Army now, and so I remember taking this first battery of tests, and when I completed them, a guy came over and said, "You want to be a helicopter pilot?" I said, "Yeah, I'd love to. Can I call my mother?" He said, "What are you, nuts? You can't call your mother." So I said, "I need to show this off." He said, "Sit down, soldier. You're going to go in there and you're going to complete these other tests." So I did that, and then I passed those tests for whatever reason, and then I was sent for the physical, which I passed, and then they sent me for the eye exam, and the guy, no good. So that I was honored, like, I was like a kid. I was going, shit, I'll fly helicopters. Great. I love it. But so it was exciting, and then down in a hurry. And then before I went to Vietnam, I was stationed at Fort Detrick, which is the Chemical and Biological Research Center for the United States Army in Frederick, Maryland, a very small base with only 200 soldiers on it. And all of them had, except for me, had horticulture and botany degrees. And I was a driver there. I drove generals and doctors and scientists from the Pentagon and other places to the base. I had a top secret military clearance. They came to my neighborhood. They knocked on neighbors' doors and asked about me, went to my high school, asked about my character, that sort of thing. So I was a kid with a top secret military clearance because of the base I was on. And so that my service was at the Chemical and Biological Research Center for the United States Army. And in Vietnam, I was in the Civil Affairs Psychological Operations headquarters company, G5. So.
I guess it's my turn to ask some questions. Like Greg, I love the book. I'm not quite done it yet, but what really stuck with me is, how you describe the women in your life while you were going through this year. And I loved the granular details because I think that as women, we use our senses. We have the ability to go into places, and so we can understand pain and love and fear, I think, in a way that isn't always put on the forefront. Times have changed where feelings and it just gets pushed aside, but I really appreciated that about your book, especially that you went into the littlest of details to describe some of those connections. So what about some of the smells? Because I'm curious, I felt like there was different realities. You're at war, but you're thinking of at home. And what were some of the things that you like, did that transfer at all? Like home cooking or perfume? Did you remember the smells of back home at all?
Of course I did. And let me just tell you, you said women have more sensual outlook. But in Italy, there's an expression, per tutti i sensi, which means for all your senses. And men use it more than women in my hometown. And the idea is that if you have all of your senses going at once, you're in heaven. What you can see, smell, hear, taste, and touch it's very Italian, But the sensuality, war is sensual. War is, people don't describe it this way, but it's sensual. You feel and smell. So I was so alive in my senses that I had another sixth sense. I was sure of it. And I knew we were going to get hit tonight because I had this other, just the way I breathed the air, the way I tasted even the sea rations that we ate, or the way I saw the light, or the way I felt that this is the kind of time like it was 2 nights ago, and I just knew it was coming, and so my senses were alive. I mean, I was hyper vigilant. I still am. I mean, I was like, boom, my eyes were wide open because I was scared to death. And if your eyes are open, your ears are open. And if you taste an apple that they send from a Long Bin on a helicopter, and it's crisp, and it's, whoa, why didn't I appreciate that before? So, and if you hear music, it pops you. And if you smell gunpowder or see blood dripping, or see the brownness of the blood, if you've come across a corpse but that's been dead for hours, or taste or touch something, you're aware of it. You know, the small sound of you walking and you have your helmet on, the small sound of a big elephant leaf, those elephant plants and those giant leaves that were as tall as you, and it passes over your helmet. It's a private sound, but you're keenly aware of it, keenly so. And before an explosion, like before a grenade explodes, you become so attuned to it that you can hear the air suck in first. So it's instantaneous, but an explosion before the thing detonates, at the same time it detonates, it's probably like a fraction of a second before a rocket detonates, or a mortar or a hand grenade. It sucks the air. You can feel that. It like sucks the air, and boom, and then it takes the air and then it uses that to boom. And so you become like aware of that in a way that's, you're like a lion on the prowl. It's like that. And it's hard to define the height of it. Actually, when I talk about it, I miss it. And I don't mean that like I miss war, but there's something about that. There's something about the danger and the senses and the connection of that's enlivened. And it's unspeakable. It's not right. I can tell you that. It's not right.
Well, one more memory from your book, and then I'm going to bring Greg on. I wondered, on the topic of senses, but smell in particular, what it was like getting the pillow from, you were sent a pillow while you were there.
Yeah.
And so you slept that first night. It probably had like a smell that took you home, I imagine. Of
course. I got bags of food for my parents. They boxed up food, pepperonis and hot peppers, and we'd all ate it at the same time. It was great. Of course it reminded me of home. The pillow's like smelling like heaven, right? The army smells bad. So, you don't even think about it. You're just living in that.
God, thank you for taking us back today, no matter what, through the 60s, 70s, and through the smell of locker rooms, dude.
No, not locker rooms.
No, I know, but just I got that little sense of you there, just hearing your monologue. This is great. I just want to take also, before I forget, and thanks, Val, those are great questions. Before I forget, I just want to let you know that, again, this was part 2, kind of a follow-up show to the first, and it's because I'm just going to say this as a side note. I really connected with you the first time I ever saw you on screen. We did a broadcast with the VVA luncheon guys. I just want to let you know I really connected with you, and I know Val even called me because she had connected with you in a very special way. And I bet you've been told this before in your life, but you indeed seem to me to be a deeply sensitive, empathic connector, and a person who literally walks the talk of love. Can you just comment on that? Because I really did, Dom. You're a special, special man, Dominick Yezzo.
You got me in a place that's, this is, God bless you for the way you're opening me up here. But, I come from a tough place. I was born in a tough neighborhood, and my father was a tough guy. And I have tough friends, and the war is tough. But I also have a sense about my faith, about the human condition, about the continuation of what's right, about humanity, and about service to that humanity. And because, even though I struggled, because of my time in service, I had an opportunity to use the GI Bill to go to college, and I loved it. I didn't have the skills. You need the skills to release your intelligence. So my struggle as an undergraduate was to get the skills, but I really plugged in, and I took a master's degree at the City University in critical analysis, and then I took a law degree. I was accepted into law school, which is wow, what a gift. And so, it changes the financial world. It changes the world of your own personal ability, your own personal power in the neighborhood that you occupy or in the work that you do. And it brings you places. And so I'm delighted for that. I thank God for that. And I have to give it back. I have to pay it. And so it's not something I ran away with, like I stole it. I'm a force to be reckoned with.
Yes,
and
you are.
What I mean by that is I'm not ashamed or afraid to show what a pillow smells like, but at the same time, get out of my way if I have something to do, and I mean that sincerely.
Absolutely.
Remember, defined as the ability to act, and I've never been more able to act powerfully than I am now.
You appear to be a meek person. The meek person, the meek will inherit the earth, but carry a big sword, a big old sword, but keep it sheath. That's Jordan Peterson, and I'm sure that's written somewhere else.
Another fine Canadian.
Oh, Toronto. You should have seen what this guy went through, because he was a professor at the university. I think U of T.
They're awful. They're awful what they did to him.
Oh, dude,
I worry about him.
I think it was Wilfrid Laurier, and call it the swamp just swooped down on him because Canada was trying to pass the old gender law, making it mandatory, illegal to not use gender pronouns, whatever, that whole thing. But 2011, they tried to take him down hard.
I struggled.
Came back.
His philosophy is a philosophy for the moment, and his work will abound 500 years from now.
Absolutely. Of all the things, one of my favorites that I share a lot, because I'm all about fatherhood. I didn't meet my father till I was 41 years old. But it's parents are really hard on themselves. All the mistakes. I always say I could have legal pads full of mistakes that I made in life. Speaking of second chances. But parents are really hard on themselves, and they think of so many ways they could have been better parents or made different decisions or whatever. And Jordan Peterson just makes everything clear. He said, listen, if your kids as adults, would call you by the phone or want to visit you and just hang out and talk to you, he says, you've been a damn special parent. You've been a great parent. Because that's what it is. I want to start. Yeah, I don't even like starting to wind down a show when it's so good like this. This is really, 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 really good. But I do want to. We've talked about that Jordan Peterson stuff. We could do an entire show just on how Jordan Peterson applies to our life.
You should call him on your show.
I would absolutely love to. Do you know that he's had a really hard time? I haven't heard the updated news, but he's been sick. He's been pretty sick like this past few months.
I'm not surprised. They heard him.
If anyone out there knows Jordan Peterson, have him give me a call. I love this. It's all about connections. And also 2 people I plan on contacting seriously, Dominic, are Sean Hannity and Jesse Waters. And I say this, small world, because what people don't know, Sean Hannity, I've been a big fan of him since the old days with him, Hannity and Combs. Remember Alan Combs? When that was more the dueling citizens vision I had, because Alan Combs is a great guy, totally in the tank, liberal, totally in the tank. But and God bless Alan, he died young. But Sean, of course, pivoted to his own brand. But Sean also had a really tough time. I'm going to go off of memory, 4 or 5, 6 years ago, where they tried to cancel him. Dominic, they tried to cancel him. He went through hell. Censor, cancel, doc, now swatting. This is the most awful, evil thing I've ever seen. But Sean Hannity went through it, and I actually, Val even might remember this. I wrote a Greg's List at the time. I published an essay, and I call them Greg's List, the top 10 things or whatever. And it was called Je suis Hannity. Je suis Hannity. True story. I did Nous sommes Charlie Kirk, but Je suis Hannity. And I read through it now, and I say, well, 10 points just telling Sean Hannity to keep his chin up. To keep his chin, because you know how it goes. So that's the only kind of 2 things I wanted to reach out a little bit.
We're divided. A nation divided. It can't stand. It's awful. It's awful.
This has just been fabulous. Val, if you have a quick question or whatever on the subject matter here, or whatever is on your heart, and then I'm going to start doing a wrap. Oh, by the way, God, I love this. I love hogging the mic. You mentioned being a lion, right? You mentioned being a lion, and it rung very, very true for me, because older guys like you and Rocky and Tom Burke is 80 years old. I'm going to be 80 years old one of these days. And you guys are still rocking it out. You guys are still lions. Cue up Val. Do you have anything special for us there? Check this out.
I do. So give me 1 second here.
You've seen this. You'll love this, Dominic. You will love this. It'll be queued up any second, thanks to this.
Here we go.
Facilitator check. I just love this. This just made my day. Val, isn't that great?
Give me here we go. Just give me 2 seconds. Keep talking, Greg. Plug our channel for 1 second.
Perfect. Here we go. Away we go.
He's the king of the jungle. Huge mane out there. He's laying down under a tree in the middle of Africa. He's so big. He's so hot. He doesn't want to move. Now, little lion cubs, they start messing with him. Biting his tail, biting his ears. He doesn't do anything. The lioness, she starts messing with him, coming over, making trouble. Still, nothing. Now, the other animals, they notice this, and they start to move in. The jackals, hyenas, they're barking at him, laughing at him. They nip his toes and eat the food that's in his domain. They do this, and they get closer and closer and bolder, till one day, that lion gets up and tears the shit out of everybody, runs like the wind, eats everything in his path. Because every once in a while, the lion has to show the jackals who he is. It's too late to be scared. It's time to kill. I'm going to the other room. You come out when you're ready.
Got that, Val. That is.
Don't beat him. Kick his ass.
I love Walken. Wasn't that great?
Perfect.
Have
100%.
you
100%.
Have you seen that before?
I have, and I remember the film. I forgot the part.
Guys like you and guys like me and some of the other characters that we know, we need to watch that about every 30 days, maybe every 60 days.
Yeah.
Remind ourselves. Speaking about carrying a big sword and keeping it sheathed, that's exactly what that video is all about. Val, do you have a quick kind of comment or whatever right now for Dominick as we begin slowly to wrap up the show? It has been so cool having you here. I mean, beyond cool.
Well, I'm going to do just a little house cleaning real quick, because if you're joining us late in the show, please go back on Greg MEAKIN's YouTube channel. You can watch part 1 of this interview with Dominick. This is part 2, so we're going to hopefully get him over for maybe part 3 if he's willing to come back, because I think there's so much more we could get into. Today we're talking about vets. We're talking about a brotherhood, a sisterhood of leaving no one behind. And that is so important. And it's not just Vietnam vets, but it's the next generation. So I love that we're all on stage here today too. And there's a place for everybody. And it is about bringing our generations together. So take the time, watch, and check out that show as well. We covered Dominick's book. I'm halfway through. I can't put it down. It is a fantastic book. It's so uniquely written. It's written in an easy way where you're just part of the story. I love it. So I highly recommend it. Check it out you can get it on Amazon overnight. And I'm going to pass the mic back to you, Dominick, one last time. Any closing thoughts? And then I will sign you out. And Greg, we do have a little bit of pre-stuff to cover for the upcoming show. So go ahead.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to continue with you to talk about the Vietnam Veterans of America and our direction under Thomas Burke, who was the president, and some things about James McCormick, who's the government affairs person, who's a spark plug, and the rest of the organization, which is going to continue in spite of the age of us. And we are going to welcome, under the guidance of Tom Burke, new generation veterans to join us, the Gulf War veterans, for instance, and beyond. Now, even though we're 501c19, which requires a membership of Vietnam veterans, we're going to be able to change our constitution and reshape the charter. We're the only congressionally chartered veterans organization. So we reshaped the charter to include membership with other younger vets, because the work that we do, have done, and will continue to do is a work of wisdom, which is a certain and constant course. That's what wisdom means. And the Vietnam Veterans of America are a wise organization of veterans who have gotten more for veterans and their families than any other organization since Abraham Lincoln helped the Civil War vets. And so I'd like to bring some of that to light next time we're on, if that's possible. And I want to thank you both for your professionalism, your courtesy. And this is getting to be high-end movie star stuff here, bud.
No, you know what? You're going to see how flexible we are here. Take another 5 minutes if you need, Dominick. Okay, the Vietnam Veterans of America, these are our heroes. Like you say, Tom. We got James McCormick, we got Rocky, we got the awesome guys. Take another 3, 4, 5 minutes while we've got everybody here and talk as much as you want.
I want to tell you something special about the Vietnam Veterans of America. We designed ourselves. We formed ourselves. We came to light in 1986, but we were organized in groups and literally in fighting bunches before that. We're trying to make sense out of what we needed that we didn't get. We try to make sense out of especially Agent Orange. And you remember that giant lawsuit 25 years ago, and the result of it. And the win was an ideal that if Congress didn't give it to us, or they didn't talk to us in agreeing terms, then they are mistaken, and we sue them. And that's what the Agent Orange suit was all about. It was unmistakable that we were suffering from the toxic exposure. The proof of it was indelible. It was easy to see, and the kinds of injuries that we were having, the kinds of cancers that we struggled with, and for generations after us, gave the government a note of join us or fight us. You don't want to fight me on this kinds of thing, because it makes too much legal and common sense. You can't win. And so our organization, when it began years ago, we began to try to help each other. We were veterans, and that's what veterans do. We serve each other. We organize in such a democratic way that it's hard to make a move, because we're a not-for-profit corporation which has a wonderful tax break. A 19 corporation, 501c19 corporation, has a membership requirement, which means that 75% of the members must be Vietnam veterans, and the rest of them, up to 97%, have to be closely related to Vietnam veterans. And so there's a strict membership requirement, rightfully so, because the government gives us a great tax break. In return, the government's aware that we do what they can't do. We can serve veterans in a way that the government can't. And so that's what the tax break is about. They just don't give you a tax break because they're nice people. They give you a tax break because you're doing work that's in close and personal for veterans that the government can't do or understand how to do. So we organized, and we made ourselves with a board of directors, but we also have the unique craft of having a board which decides on issues that are relevant and pertinent to our organization going forward, and decide on any change or any addition or any reduction, anything of any financial matter, et cetera, et cetera. And but the rank and file of the board, there are 24 board members, have to then bring it to all of the chapters in the 50 states. And so unlike any other corporation where the board decides, and then that's what is gospel, we have to bring it to a vote, a national vote, like an election. And it's very, very difficult to communicate properly. It's very difficult to assemble a national vote with delegates from every state. And it's sometimes slow to move. Nonetheless, we are the most democratic organization, not-for-profit organization. And something that we were proud of, because of the way we functioned, and we went down to the chapter level. We went down to him and her in the middle of Mississippi and in the center of Madison Avenue in New York City. Well, those two chapters are different, but they're both valuable and important. And so it's that dichotomy, it's that separation of veterans who are united by a purpose with the national organization. However, now we have an opportunity, because our headquarters are expensive to manage and run. We're overly paying for rent and have for a long, long time. And we have an opportunity to move to the great city of Pittsburgh. And that city has welcomed us. They sent the mayor's real estate person to us to welcome us. And a couple of law firms showed up, and Rocky Blyer, who's a Vietnam veteran and played with the Pittsburgh Steelers, welcomed us. And a real estate owner welcomed us, and he offered us a space on a very dignified building called the Kopfer Building in the center of Pittsburgh. And it would be a reduction in rent, a reduction in salary, a reduction in operating costs that would be stunning, and at the same time allow us to grow. Pittsburgh is a very, very strong and patriotic city, and they would welcome the Vietnam veterans there with open arms, and they have already. But we have to wait for the vote, and that vote may or may not see it the way that the officers and the president do. And the president works very, very, very hard to manage this operation in truth. And the truth is knowable once it's told. So we're looking at that. It's not a hardship, but it's an issue that we have to overcome and reshape so that we can remain doing what we do. Now, some people are stubborn because they say we should be the last man standing. Nobody gave us anything, so why should we care about giving it to the next generation? I oppose that full on. I oppose that idea. It's significantly it's unrealistic. It's not right. It's not compassionate with veterans. It's not compassionate for what our motto is, that never would one generation of veterans abandon another. And so, but there are some who want that, and I understand that, but I don't agree with it. Last man standing is a folly to think about that. It's just impossible to think of our organization as some last person who's 95 years old turning the lights out and walking away with his collar up and his hat on because it's raining. It's like a drama that is viable to many of us because they didn't give us anything when we came back, but it's not right. And so we're going to continue, and we're going to continue to be better than ever. And the next 100 years for the Vietnam Veterans of America are going to be stunning. I promise.
Yes, I think you guys are just getting started. I recruit. Age cannot be used as an excuse around here. So if you are watching today, don't forget, we actively recruit here. So the lights aren't going dark. They're just going to brighten up. So I'm with you there. Dominick, one final thing. Last week, you described Greg MEAKIN as a national treasure. So any comment on what were you talking about?
When I spoke of Greg MEAKIN?
Being a national treasure.
Yeah, I mean, just first off, from a visceral, intrinsic vision, right? Look, I haven't met him. I met him on screen. I met him this way, right? He's larger than life. He means it. He communicates sincerity, and he's got that hockey background, which gives him a metaphor for putting his shoulder into the whole bowling pin that he's going to knock down. He's going to get it done, and his power is a power which is inclusive of all veterans everywhere. Of course, it's an American scheme, but I'm sure that he would welcome on this show the veterans that are occupying the war in the Ukraine, or the veterans that will return from the kind of battle shock that's going to be new with this AI war that we're in now. I'm sure he would do that because he gets it. He gets the human condition of what we are, what we suffered, and how we maintained our dignity in the face of that suffering. And that's a national treasure. That
is so well said. That is exactly how Greg is. Greg.
Well, Dominick, I forgot to bring the Kleenex today.
Use your shirt.
I felt like you were talking behind my back, and it was great. We have seriously, the moments we have had on air with this product. This is a radio product. It's called Continue Mission on the Veteran Channel. The Veteran Channel has its own YouTube channel called The Veteran Channel. But what I love, and this is the way Captain James McCormick and us, and we have been from the very first episode, we've had really emotional moments. We've had unscripted moments. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what, I've seen your heart today. I knew it was there, but I've seen your heart today. And we're surrounded by a bunch of peeps just like that. It's called authentic. And so I do want to deeply thank you for your appearance today. And indeed, we can have a part 3, 4, 5. We can have a part 99 with how much volume and content comes out of not only you, but me and Val. Everybody's got their stories. Everyone's got their stories. So I deeply thank you. I'll have Val do, as a matter of fact, just to say a final goodbye. Any final moments? Yeah, just any final words, Judge Yezzo. I call you Judge, by the way. I have a nickname for everybody, so I just call you Judge Yezzo, because you're a judge.
Was, yeah. And still are. The title doesn't go away. It's part of the beauty of it.
Oh, not everybody becomes a judge. Remember the old Laugh-In days or whatever it was. Here come the judge. Here come the judge. So
Yeah.
maybe we'll do a theme song opening for you like that. Any final words, and then we'll have Val just say goodbye and stick you out backstage out of studio.
My thanks for your attention to veterans and their issues. I appreciate it. And you're doing a great service to the country.
Wow. Thank you, sir.
That was Judge Dominick Yezzo. So if you are late in the show, don't forget to go back on YouTube. You can visit Greg Meakin's channel. And also, if you're watching on Amazon, let us know, or Roku Prime. We want to keep in touch with all of you. Starting next week, April 1st, the Veterans channel will be featured live on its new YouTube channel. So that's exciting news. It's also my 45th birthday. So yes, happy birthday to myself. But don't forget, if you're not following us, you can become a subscriber. Again, the Veteran channel is brand new. So Greg, I know there's a couple things you want to get into as well. I have some exciting news, a project I'm working on that I want to get into as well. So
nice. If it's possible to say wow one more time. That's a wow on this show with Dominick Yezzo. I'm going to decide to slow this down a little bit right now because we still have things to say, so we can even talk just like it's you and me around the kitchen table. I have a few things to bring up, and I know I want to give you special time because you are working on like the most special thing I've seen in a long, long time. So I'm going to tee you up on that. Okay, Val, but I wanted to share a few things. Number one, there's kind of a shall I say, a momentum or a synchronicity going on with the Veteran channel, and it's not cliche. We're booking up as the weeks are going out here. As a matter of fact, we try to do a weekly show. Nothing's carved in stone because we do rapid deployments like today. This was on Dominick's schedule. It wasn't on ours. This is the time when he was available. So rapid deployment, we go to where the guest is. We go to where the story is. We can do it in less than 7 minutes. That's a record. And what I did want to bring up is, of course, next week, April 1st, is your birthday, Val's 45th birthday. And we're going to have probably, I'll bet you, a fun little special there on YouTube with you live and present. And maybe we'll have someone else get the birthday cake because you're usually the one that does that. So I'm looking forward to April 1st. And then as of this morning, we just booked up April 7th. That is a Tuesday. Once again, that is Rapid Deployment Tuesday. It was based on our guest schedule. And our guest, I'll just kind of plug it briefly here because I'm just so excited about it. Our guest is a gentleman who goes back 29 years with me. 29 years. He's 55 years old right now, and he was 26, I believe, when we first started working together. So I don't know why these connections come about, but he's also a hardcore Seattle Seahawks fan. Val, we're going to have you close your eyes during close your ears during that. So we'll be talking a little bit football, but anyhow, his name's Eric Butler with a K, E-R-I-K, Eric Butler. And we were planning on he's like me, he's going for surgery in April He's doing a rotator cuff, and I'm doing a sports hernia. There he is. Eric Butler, this is the coolest man in the history of the world. And again, he was just a youngster when we started working together. And we've kind of been like joint mentors, if you will. There he is. Now, that's like in his element right there. Eric Butler's a general manager of an big auto group over in Seattle, Kia of Everett. And this is in his natural habitat. It's Eric Butler right there with the glasses and the smile and his whole team. He's a team guy. I went through some of his photos today, and I couldn't find many that were him alone, because he's always with a team. Imagine that. He's 55 years old right now. We're gonna have him live on the 7th of April, which is a Tuesday. It'll be likely 9 a.m. Pacific. That's noon Eastern, and everybody else can figure out the time zones from there. But I couldn't be more excited that it kind of fell together before each of our surgeries, right? And that he was available. So I really wanted to shout out to Eric, and I can't believe it, because what I did was interesting. We go back in the car business. That's all anyone ever wants to talk about with me is cars. Probably because I wrote a book 30 years ago about it. But Eric has been along that journey as well. My wife my wife jokes, forget mob wives. You should see car wives. Okay. But we go back on this stuff. But I was chatting with him. Boy, Val, this wasn't 2 days ago. I said, by the way, I've always wanted to have you on the air because we want to talk car business. But I said, I think you have a relative that's in the military, or that's a veteran, military veteran and stuff. Because I knew there'd be a tie-in to the veteran channel. And he said, oh yeah, but I didn't find this out till 2 days ago. He says, oh yeah, my dad was a Vietnam veteran, Purple Heart, Silver Star, Sergeant, badass. And I said, well, there is a God, because I can't wait to tell my audience his story. This really moved me. He said he didn't talk about it a lot after the war. And I said, that's likely because he had PTSD. Likely. He was very close to the vest with it. But Eric said what he did talk about was just, wow, like, you have got to be kidding me. So if that's not a lead up to another show, write it down on your wall calendar. April 7th, 2026, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. Eric Butler, Eric with a K. I'll probably clip this, and he'll just go nuts hearing this plug for him. But I told him I was going to do it. When I heard his father was a Purple Heart, Val, it's just unbelievable. So I will sign off here. It has been. I'm not going to sign off yet. I'm going to give the mic to you, Val Olson, and you're working on amongst a million things, million verticals that you're working on. You're working on about the coolest little, shall we say, business, activity, hobby. And I'm going to give you the mic literally for, if you want, 2-3 minutes or something to take your time and tell people what you're doing. And then I'll do my regular sign off. Go ahead, Val.
Well, this is my first attempt. I'm not working alone. I'm working with a friend, and we are building this website. So I want to unveil it today because it is so special and amazing. And speaking of national treasure, this is what I would describe it as. So write it down: everywakingmoment.net. So you can visit it. And as you can see, you see a door. Is that not the greatest door? And you can go through the door. But my heart and soul is really in this website. I've started writing music, and I love it. It is so therapeutic. So you will find everything on here. Lots of poems, classes for children. We're even working on stories. So there's everything, but I'll just give you a little sample of it. If you want to come through the door, we would love to have you. And it's very personal as well, very relational. And I have there's like a little phone button. So if you want to talk, we can talk, or you just want to text back and forth, we can text. But that's what it's all about, is workshops, old stories, inspiring poems, songs, programs, and lots of wisdom and nuggets and resources on this website. So thanks for letting me promote it, Greg. I really appreciate that. That's everywakingmoment.net. And next time I will play some music that I've made myself with the help of AI.
Nice. No, it's funny. And even on the show, we don't promote stuff. We don't have advertising and stuff. We share from the heart, and we share stuff with partners and friends and soulmates like you, because we're excited about what you're doing. So it's really fun when there's partnerships like that, and without even thinking. But I'm really excited about this journey you're on, mainly because of the music element of it. Mainly because of the music element. One of my secrets from the inside is I'm not going to say gifted, but I'm really, really into music. I played more than one instrument and stuff. I have in music, it's called a perfect ear. Perfect ear music means you don't have to do you don't have to test what note you're going to start with. You know how to start cold out of the blue, and it's right. It's a C minor, whatever. But anyhow, so there's my secrets from the inside. I'm gonna wrap up here, and I cannot thank you enough, Val Olson, once again. It's been 4 years, and I stopped counting at 100 broadcasts together, but it's a great big barrel full of broadcasts. We have an amazing archive of our work. People ask, how can we see your work, and what's the Veteran Channel going to look like? It's my YouTube channel, which is Greg Meakin, spelled just like it is on the screen. My website's gregmeakin.com as well. But on my YouTube channel, it has got, if you go to the live section, it's got not everyone, but a lot of the live shows we've done, including what we've done in the last probably year chronologically. So if you ever want to go to a live show and listen to an hour and a half, this is going to be a 2 hours. It's great. We go whatever it takes, right? We're rapid deployment. So we are definitely, I've been producing the Veteran Channel for my friend James McCormick. It was his brainchild, because basically he just wants to take this channel international so that we can spread the message to a very, very big reach of people. And so it's been launched. We've done 10 or 12 prototypes, pilots kind of thing, and have been perfecting it along the way. But now it's perfected. Now it's perfected. So if anyone wants to listen literally to an hour of radio or just the clips, go to my YouTube channel, put your headphones on. There are shows on there that, again, hour and a half. In the old days, we did one that was a 3.5 hour marathon. So the YouTube channel and Continue Mission is James McCormick's historical radio show, about more than a decade now. Continue Mission, that was Friday night radio. You and I, Val, remember this? This is all news, but you and I were invited to co-host Continue Mission Radio on Friday night on the Brain Injury Network. James McCormick called me. He said, yeah, you set a record for that show. You and Miss Val, he's West Virginian, by the way. You and Miss Val set a record for that show. 200,000 U.S. military veterans listened live and or quick downloads on that podcast. I almost forgot. I'm so glad I took this extra time. I got a text message before the show by guess who? The big old sheriff, cowboy hat, Sheriff Mark Lamb, running for the United States Congress. And as usual, I say, hey, Val and I are going on air. Any message, whatever. And he gave a message that was really moving to me. Let me pull it up here. I'm multitasking. See, I'm using my phone and going like
Excellent.
So,
you take a minute and find the message. Sheriff Lamb is busy. He and his wife, they are Mr. and Mrs. America. I believe that we are looking at future president material here. They're just such a wonderful couple, and they are on the campaign trail, obviously saving America. It's all about law and order. We love our sheriff and his wife, and it's awesome. He texted you this morning. So what did he have to say?
He did, because he's running for a place called the United States Congress. Right? He's taking Andy Biggs's seat there, and thank God, Andy Biggs is going to be the next governor. Oh my God, Val, you're on the trigger today. Andy Biggs is going to be the next governor of Arizona. And I honestly, I text and talk with his campaign quite a bit on the polling numbers, et cetera. We need, here we go. We need Andy Biggs to be our governor in Arizona because this has been awful. Here we go, right, Val? Here we go. I haven't had a rant yet today. It's been awful with Katie Hobbs. It's been a terrible governor. We need Andy Biggs. Andy Biggs, I texted him. I said, by the way, your best talking point of the year, Andy, because I'm a behind-the-scenes kind of media advisor, right? But your best talking points were, we're going to doge the heck out of Arizona. We're going to doge the heck out of Arizona. There's been billions stolen from this. From Sheriff Mark Lamb texted, this was hot off the press this morning. And I will quote, hey, Greg, just let the patriots listening today know that we are standing in the gap and we appreciate them very much. I am excited to get to DC and keep fighting for our values. There you go, Sheriff Mark Lamb. He will be a U.S. congressman in November 2026. But as a side note, Val, you and I did one of the first, very, very first ever long-form interviews with Sheriff Mark Lamb. From memory, it was May 21st, 2022. 2022, is that 4 years? We did a Secrets from the Inside campfire chat with Sheriff Mark Lamb. It was about an hour and 20 minutes before he was a candidate for the Senate and before he was a candidate for the Congress and before he retired 10-7 as Pinal County deputy. We interviewed him. And he revealed a lot of stuff, even back then, that he's never been asked publicly since. So, boy, I love getting kind of long for him because I can blabber, Val. I won't even say our joke. The Greg Meakin's radio shows are not a democracy. They're a dictatorship. And Greg Meakin is the dictator. Final note on that. Thank you very, very much, Val. You're my broadcasting friend. You're my teammate. You're my pal. For 4 years, we've been doing this, even on the old Twitter spaces before it was cool. So I leave off to everybody out there. God bless everybody out there. This is going to have a really big reach. We love you guys. We are with all the veterans, including and I mean World War II. There's still a few left. Vietnam veterans, Korean War veterans, Iraq War, Afghanistan War, and now guess what? The Iran conflict. So we are with all generations of all veterans and beyond, even outside the veteran community. There are family members holding the fort, like Dominick so emotionally talks about. It's at the home front. Everything starts at the home front. And I'll just finish off with my same sign off. Thank you so much, everybody. Remember, just like happened today, including in this show, we learned some stuff today, Val. I learned some stuff about Judge Yezzo. To everybody out there, number one, it gets easier. Okay. It gets easier. That was going to be my early message to begin, but it gets easier. If you've had trials and tribulations, you get beat up and you sometimes feel you're at the end of your rope, bottomed out. I have been there. And a lot of people that will listen to this are there right now, this moment. And all I say to everybody is it gets easier. I'm living proof for that. It actually does get easier when you can somehow get through the hump and the obstacles and stuff. It gets easier, and you'll know when it's easier. So to everybody out there, I always say, wake up in kindergarten every day. There's so much to learn and so little time. Because before you know it, you're in first grade. God love you, Val Olson.
Continue Mission is produced by veterans for veterans. And remember, everyone, we are actively recruiting, and your mission starts now.
Welcome to Continue Mission Radio with Captain James McCormick. By veterans, for veterans. Guest hosts tonight are author Greg MEAKIN and Miss Val, our military radio gal. Continue Mission starts now.